Excited. I think, obviously our goal of reaching the playoffs last year we accomplished, but now, we want to be a championship contender. I think we're putting in the pieces to be able to do that, hopefully add some free agents, and you can just feel the excitement in the whole organization and in the city, our fans. So honestly, I can't wait to get back out there. I wish we had a game tomorrow, honestly. Yeah.
Do you recall when the Indiana Fever only won 5 games 2 seasons ago? Well, a lot has changed in just a few years. Their standout player, Caitlin Clark, called for star power, and the Fever's rebuilt front team reacted with a daring and impactful move.
Thoughts on the $80 million Fever facility and Stephanie White being like, we're going to be aggressive in free agency, and massive names who are available. And I think, this is my bold prediction, the Indiana Fever are going to be playing for the WNBA title next year. Wow. They have their cornerstone pieces under rookie contract.
In a move that sent shockwaves throughout the WNBA, the Indiana Fever have signed not 1, not 2, but 3 superstar players. This is no longer simply a rebuild. It's a full-scale basketball revolution, driving the Fever to the forefront of title contenders. Curious about the game-changing players behind this transformation and how they fit into Indiana's big strategy. This isn't just a roster boost. It's a total overhaul that has the rest of the league rethinking their strategy. Ready to dive in? Let's go.
Big name veteran pieces that the Fever have money to go get to put them in position to be playing for a WNBA title. That's my bold prediction.
Let's take it back to when the Indiana Fever were the bottom of the WNBA. It wasn't too long ago, just 2 seasons ago, they finished with a miserable 5 wins. It felt like they were locked in an endless losing run, but then everything shifted. The Fever began making daring moves that drew the attention of the entire league.
We felt this way to begin with, that the Fever were going to be a destination because you have Caitlin Clark, you have Aaliyah Boston, and you have a really, really young team. And I think now with Steph White, who is hands down one of the best coaches in the league, and we saw that with Connecticut, even though they fell a little bit short, I think that, this is going to be big.
First, the Fever made a game-changing move by picking Aaliyah Boston with the first overall pick in 2023. A generational center in her own right. Despite her talent, though, the club still ended up with a difficult 13-27 record. But the next year, they had the top pick again and selected Caitlin Clark, the once-in-a-generation superstar who took the WNBA by storm. Her effect was instant and unmistakable, averaging 19.2 points per game in her debut season and setting 62 records along the way. Clark demonstrated an ability to score and orchestrate plays like a veteran, but even a star of her magnitude required support to push the team forward.
Are you in a position where you can add some pieces?
Yes, we are. We're definitely in a position, and I would think that if you are a smart basketball player and you watch the way she plays, you would want to play with her.
That's where the Fever's core of Aaliyah Boston, Kelsey Mitchell, and Lexi Hull stepped up. As they started to click, the team quickly transformed. Suddenly, Indiana wasn't an easy target anymore. Teams couldn't just saunter in anticipating a simple win. These budding stars were hungry and ready to prove their worth. Last season, they astonished everyone by battling their way into the playoffs with a 20-20 record. It was a momentous milestone, marking their first postseason berth in nearly a decade. But for Caitlin Clark, it wasn't enough. She felt the Fever had the potential to be more than simply a good team. They had what it took to be great.
I see a lot of players wanting to go, in this offseason, a lot of players are going to want to go to the Fever.
So what did Clark do? She went straight to the front office and requested for excellent free agents. And let me tell you, the new management team of President Kelly Koff and GM Amber Cox didn't just listen, they delivered. The Fever has 4 key aims this offseason. First, they had to re-sign Kelsey Mitchell at any costs. She had been the heart and soul of the squad, averaging 19.2 points per game last season. Second, they needed flexible wings who could score and defend, offering extra firepower for Clark and Mitchell. Third, they needed to reinforce the front position with players who were big defensive-minded and could run the floor and score when required. And finally, they sought a backup guard to oversee the offense when Clark or Mitchell needed a respite.
Building quality depth is going to be important. You know, when you have a core three like we have, you know, surrounding them with players who are going to, you know, fill the roles, certainly, first and foremost, who are going to embrace the roles, you know, secondly, and who give us the best opportunities for success by complementing what they do really, really well.
Also outstanding in the pick and roll. She is a floor spacer, and she brings experience. The Indiana Fever made the playoffs last year for the first time since 2016, and in that first game, none of their starters had any playoff experience. Natasha Howard has over 50 games of playoff experience, three-time WNBA champion. She fits them beautifully.
Now, the stage is set for a revolution that's about to send shockwaves through the WNBA. The Fever aren't just striving for the playoffs anymore. They're eyeing the top, with Caitlin Clark setting the rookie assist record and establishing her skills as both a scorer and facilitator. The components are fitting into place for something genuinely extraordinary in Indiana. So, who are the three great signings that made this all possible? The Fever's front team told Clark they bring in great players, and they definitely delivered. Let's speak about the game-changing decision that turned heads across the league, citing Natasha Howard, a three-time champion, an all-star, and a Defensive Player of the Year. Howard is everything Indiana needed and more.
Natasha Howard throws it right to... Oh! And it raced his kidney! Oh! Defensive Player of the Year in the WNBA! You should just lock it up! John can't give it to him, and right there is Howard with a block. Another one rejected by Howard.
Some observers were doubtful, doubting if Howard, at 33, still had what it took to be a game-changer. But those critics evidently hadn't been paying attention. Last season with the Dallas Wings, Howard was putting up outstanding numbers. 17.6 points, 6.7 rebounds, and 2.9 assists per game, while shooting a blazing 45.6% from the floor. That's not just good, that's elite.
Certainly improved by signing Howard. She, to me, fits their system beautifully as a rim-running stretch four. We know Caitlin Clark is the best get-ahead passer in the WNBA right now. Howard will run the floor. Howard is outstanding in the pick and roll. We saw how good she was doing that when she was in Seattle. What else does she bring? A massive amount of experience.
But here's where everything gets really exciting. Howard isn't simply a scoring monster. She's a defensive force. Remember when she was crowned Defensive Player of the Year in 2019? Well, she hasn't lost a step. Howard's the kind of player who can dominate the paint and yet have the stamina to push the tempo on fast breaks. It's like having a Swiss Army knife on the court. She can do it all.
Remember, all the conversation for Indiana going into the playoffs last year, first time they'd made it since 2016, was how little playoff experience they had. You see, now they have 33 games. In that first playoff game against the Connecticut Sun this past season, they had zero playoff experience from their starting five. Howard brings playoff experience. She's won 3 championships with both Minnesota and Seattle. So to me, she's a huge, huge piece for them.
Why does everybody hate Caitlin Clark? And do you hate Caitlin Clark? Come on, talk
dude.
to me.
Absolutely not. I think that she's a gem. I didn't know her, but All-Star Weekend, we kind of bantered back and forth a little bit. And she's lovely. She has a lot of pressure on her shoulders, and I think a lot of people always have a lot to say with people they don't even know or shoes they've never been in. And for me, I think she's handling the pressure very well. She's doing a lot of great things for women's basketball. And I'm a fan. Like, I would love to play with her one day, for real.
What is that? It might not be from you, but like what is it feels it's not hate, but is it jealousy? Is it envy? Is it just like, what is it?
Yeah, I see both sides. I'm not an extremist in any way.
Yeah.
And so I like to see both sides of each party. I think when you have older people in the league, they work their tails off and they didn't get the recognition. They don't get paid millions of dollars before they even step on the court. You know what I mean? And for them, it's all about, okay, well, what are your stats? What are you doing for the actual game? Like, while you're playing.
Yeah.
And then for that, this is amazing for women's basketball. This is amazing for women's sports in general. You have so many people, so many new and fresh eyes on our sport that maybe they're a little uneducated and maybe they kind of stir the pot a little bit. And so I get that. But for that class to come in, you have...
Ready for this? Cunningham shot a blistering 37.8% from three-point range last season. That's the kind of crisp shooting that can convert a good squad into a great one.